Hey guys, Marcus with Toast of Ventura Tech here. Today we have a brand new toy and it is the Hohem ISteady MT2. Let's unbox this thing. I wanted to test the MT2 in a realistic travel scenario and give you guys my honest feedback. So today we are going behind bars. Well, specifically we're crossing the San Francisco Bay to check out the infamous Alcatraz Island. Alcatraz construction was completed in the mid-19th century and served as a lighthouse, a military fort, and also a prison. It was then converted to a federal prison in 1934 and eventually closed down in 1963. Throughout this video, I'll sprinkle in sample footage for you guys to check out, so leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think about the performance. The Hohem ISteady MT2 is competing with flagship products like DJI RS3 Minis or the brand new Crane M3S. So in the sea of gimbal abundance, stabilization, truthfully, is no longer a competitive edge. It's more of a baseline. And what is it about this gimbal that can stand out amongst the crowd and compete with big whale gimbal makers like DJI? And that's what we're here to find out. Let's go! When I look at the Hohem MT2, there are 5 things that I consider as key differentiators. Number 1, you have 2 different options when it comes to mounting a camera on the gimbal. You can mount it horizontally or you can mount it vertically. Being able to mount the camera 90 degrees vertically allows you to flip the screen open and see yourself while you're filming yourself. It's pretty handy if you're a solo content creator that shoots a lot of vertical videos. Number 2 is the adoption of using Arca Swiss plate. This makes my life so much easier as a professional videographer. It's totally a game changer if you constantly switch between tripods and gimbals and other mounting options. Number 3 is the AI vision sensor that allows app-less tracking with any cameras that you can fit on the Hohem MT2. Hohem first introduced the magnetic AI vision tracking system on the original M6 gimbal, which is more for mobile devices, but the AI vision sensor is pretty much the same. Number 4 is the battery life. It has a 2600 milliamp battery, maxed out at 17 hours operating time. However, I'm going to caveat the 17 hours is based on Hohem's lab test, which means it's usually in a pretty perfect environment where the gimbal is perfectly balanced. I will have to do more testing in the real world to see if it holds up against the 17 hours claim. Also, if you have the AI vision sensor and the magnetic light on, it will decrease the battery life to around 6 to 8 hours. If you're wondering, it takes about 3 hours to fully charge a gimbal via USB-C. Number 5 is definitely the gimbal payload. The MT2 comes in around 643 grams while being able to support up to 1200 grams of camera and lens combo. It is one of the lightest gimbal on the market in this particular class. Just to give you an example, comparing to the Crane M3S, that gimbal comes in at around 705 grams. There are a lot of lens combo that will fit on here. I was pairing up my A7R2, A7 III, and my FX30 with either the Samyang 12mm or the Tamron 17-28 or the Tamron 28-75. They all worked. The lens that I had a little bit trouble with was the Tamron 28-200. It balanced on there just fine. It's when I want to go super ambitious and zoom in past 100mm, that is when the gimbal have a hard time balancing. It just and flopped like that and just aired out. There is a device compatibility list on Hohem's website, so definitely check that out first. When it comes to the pan axis, it's 360 degrees. Saw some of my shots where I was going around and around the camera to make you guys dizzy. The roll axis is limited to 200 degrees and the tilt axis is 290 degrees. I'm not gonna waste your time unboxing, but I can tell you that it comes in a nice little bag like this. It comes with tons of cables for different types of cameras, including charging cables and also remote control cables. It also comes in this nice solid aluminum phone holder. And by the way, this is Arca Swiss here as well. That's a very nice touch. I do wish this mini tripod is a little bit bigger, because now I'm mounting bigger camera on there. I would like to have a more stable base. Then you also get the GoPro mount, which is here, but I have like so many GoPro mounts that I just kept it in the bag. In here, I already took out the gimbal, but this is where the gimbal sit, and it's nice and light, and it's actually something I would use. All right, moving on. Today's camera of choice is the Sony FX30 paired with the exquisite Samyang 12mm autofocus lens. I'm actually testing this camera and gimbal combo as my travel setup because I have a big trip coming up in July. Alright, so we are now at the Alcatraz prison, going in and out and checking out some of the really cool areas. And we're gonna now go into D block. This is the flogging test. Probably can't hear much because of that bird barking around. Okay, got it. Yes, got it. Alright, so we are now at the yard. Can you even hear? Yeah, this is a typical review shot that I like to use, especially during weddings where I have the bride or the subject walk into frame and then slowly introduce the entire scene to the viewers. The camera settings for this shot is 4K 60 frames per second with active stabilization turned off. Something I like about Hohem is that they always have cool little nuggets so that you can use this to loosen the bracket up when you make adjustments. Next thing is you make some rough adjustments. Now you're gonna slide the Aqua Swiss plate onto the gimbal bracket. So you adjust this bracket and how far you want this to come out or slide in. And once you're done, slide the key back in. It's magnetically attached so you won't lose it. Not only can you mount this camera horizontally like this, you can also mount this thing vertically as well, like this. Do keep in mind, every time you change camera orientation, you will have to rebalance the gimbal. Although the good news is it really only takes like 30 seconds to complete. To turn on the gimbal, you press and hold the power button for 3 seconds. Standby mode, just hit the power button twice. To wake it up, easy, press it 1 time. After you're done balancing your camera and turn the gimbal on, the first thing you should do is to make sure you're calibrating this. So you're gonna hit the M button 5 times. Now calibrating, perfect. Next thing you wanna calibrate the motor strength by holding down the M button to go into a sub menu. I'm lazy, so I normally go under auto and I hit the M button and it'll auto calibrate the motor strength. But if you want to kind of fine tune it yourself to say, okay, I want the tilt motor to be a little bit stronger because of different moves that I'm pulling, then you can actually adjust individual motor strength. Now to go into other sub menus, what you're gonna do is you're gonna hit the AB button to navigate them through. So let's just say your gimbal is not perfectly balanced and the tilt is just off by a couple degrees. Then you can do fine adjustments here on the row axis. Long press the M button and you go back out. You press the M button once to switch between different modes. And to get into the inception mode, you press this 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And that is going to start the vertical mode. And it's just gonna automatically spin. On the front, you have a zoom lever. Now this is only gonna work with certain cameras like my Sony ZV-1 that I'm filming on right now here. This will control the zoom and as well as the recording. You can also do a half press and then a full press. Scroll wheel is pretty amazing. On supported cameras and phones, you can change the focus. Double pressing it, go into row motor. You can do minor fine tuning as well. This was very handy when my camera wasn't fully balanced. Long press to turn on the front RGB light. Press 3 times to switch between the CCT or the RGB mode. I can kind of change the color temperature and then press 1 time and I can control how bright I want this light to be. So now I'm gonna have it pretty dim and it goes up by 1%. So you can really fine tune how bright you want it to be. Triple press. Go back to CCT. The trigger functions are pretty standard. Press once to go into sports mode. Press twice to recenter your gimbal. Press 3 times to go into selfie mode. To quickly lock the axis, click the trigger 1 time and then press it again and hold. So I think now would be a very good time to show you guys how the AI vision sensor work. First off is to do the OK sign. It's gonna start tracking you. Pretty easy. Right? You can kind of see the camera moving here. Let's just say I don't like the composition right now. I want to change the composition. All you need to do is do a paper football sign. And the green light is going to start flashing. And you can basically move yourself to a different composition. Let's just say I want to be more centered. Then you do paper football sign. And then the light's going to go solid green again. And then it's going to start tracking you in a different composition. And because the sensor is vision based, there's going to be a little bit of distance limitation. Also, lighting conditions plays a big key when it comes to how it recognizes your gestures. I want to do the paper football sign right now. It's not really recognizing it because I think the lighting is either too harsh or the background is just too similar to my finger. But if I duck down a little bit like this, and I do the paper football sign, now it recognizes me. Sometimes when I'm testing it in a cluttered background that is very similar to my skin tone, the AI vision sensor will have a hard time picking up my gestures. Oh, one quick observation is that if you guys are mounting vertically, make sure that you're giving enough space between the lens hood versus the AI vision sensor. This lens hood is partially blocking the line of vision, so it's not fully tracking me. What I need to do is to move this axis to the right a little bit to give more room for the AI vision sensor to basically see and track me. Now, as you can see, I'm giving the AI vision sensor plenty of room. Now it's tracking me perfectly left and right. At first, I thought the remote pairing will only work with my GoPro. And yes, I can confirm that actually works pretty well with the GoPro. However, it turns out it does work with my Sony cameras as well. Let me show you. Under Bluetooth settings, make sure the Bluetooth function is on. Bluetooth remote control is on as well. Go back into Bluetooth settings, hit pairing. So now it is ready to pair. Hold down the M button, go into the sub menu until you see the pairing menu function. And then just hit pairing. You can see it detected the MT2 as a remote. It says connected device, MT2, blah, blah, blah. And you hit OK. And it's gonna start pairing. Done. Hit OK. We are first gonna try to trigger the recording. Since there is no card in the A7C, we should get an error. No memory card cannot record movie. Perfect, so we know the shutter button works. I currently have the 17-28. I did turn on clear image zoom, so let me show you that clear image zoom does work with the zoom rocker. Just to let you guys know, I'm shooting on my Sony A7C with the Tamron 17-28. Keep an eye on the fans here. You guys can see, keep an eye on the fans here. I am doing the ninja walk, so I'm trying to be as smooth as possible. Let's hope that it is pretty stable. So that is without IBIS turned on. Now I'm gonna turn IBIS on, okay? IBIS is on, ninja walk on. Keep an eye on this and also the pole. All right. Whenever you're filming, it's nice to have something that you're referencing as a center point. This will make sure that your shots are not moving or swaying left and right. When you're doing the ninja walk, do heel and toe. Nice smooth walk with your knees bent. Cool, let's dive into the Homejoy app. Bluetooth connection was easy and drama-free. And one thing I like about the app connection is that Hohem doesn't force you to sign up for any type of account. They leave it entirely up to you, and you can still use the app with or without signing up. Once the gimbal is connected, you'll see 3 options on the main page: remote control, motion control, and time-lapse. To access the gimbal parameter settings, click into any of the 3 options and you will see the gear icon at the bottom right. In the settings page, you can fine-tune things like joystick speed, motor response, initiate gimbal calibration, and many more. And one reason why you should use the app is the ability to remote control your gimbal using either the screen or straight up using motion control via the phone's gyroscope. You can set different speed and sensitivity depending on your needs. In motion control, you can even set it so that you only control one axis at a time for intricate movements. While you can set AB motion points directly in the gimbal itself, it lacks the ability to set the duration of your time-lapse. And even more reason to use the app when performing time-lapse is that you can set up to 5 motion control points instead of just 2 on the gimbal. Not only that, you can extend the time-lapse duration from 1 hour to 3. The Bluetooth camera control came as a pleasant and welcoming surprise to me. It works flawlessly with my GoPro Hero 11, my Sony ZV-1. With the Bluetooth remote, you get things like shutter half press for focusing, full press to take picture or record. If your camera is not Bluetooth compatible, don't worry. Hohem includes a variety of USB-C cables that you can use for remote control. This gimbal is certainly not perfect, so let's talk about room for improvement. First thing I would say is the AI vision sensor, but more like the magnets are weak. It was in my backpack, and as I was pulling out the gimbal, this thing fell off and fell on the ground. Luckily, there's some orange accent. I was able to spot it in the middle of some grass. I mean, Hohem, your system is so great. There's really no need to take this out. Just build it into your gimbal make this non-removable, so there's one less component I have to worry about losing. Number 2 is also the light. The lumens is kind of weak. As an example, I was in Alcatraz and I went to a solitary confinement where it's just pitch black. It seemed pretty dark. Okay, even at full brightness. So what you do lose in the brightness, you gain back by having the option to use RGB. Number 3, we already talked about Aqua Swiss, but I just wish this whole bracket, and I mean everything that slides in and out of the gimbal, is Aqua Swiss. If everything's Aqua Swiss on here, you're just giving users an expanded use case to keep this whole bracket on. It just makes it easier for us as photographers and videographers to just take it off your gimbal and mount it on a tripod ball head without having to worry about the bracket. Number 4, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but Hohem, if you're listening, let us have the AB motion duration setup directly in the gimbal itself. I like the concept of being app-free and the fact that I don't have to touch my phone at all. But when it comes to the AB motion duration setup, I wish I can just do it directly in the gimbal itself. So what do I really think about the Hohem MT2? Well, it's a gimbal that has a lot going for it. With the AI vision sensor and a magnetic RGB light, it has amazing battery life, above average payload, yet it's light and compact that I will not hesitate to bring with me on my next personal trip or future professional shoots. It's a gimbal that fits right in the middle of the prosumer market. It is a jack of all trades, or better yet, a Swiss Army knife. And fortunately for us, it does everything very, very well. The Hohem ISteady MT2 might just be the best compact camera gimbal of 2023. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do find this helpful, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, and comment below and let me know which gimbal did you ended up buying. See ya! Shout out to my favorite movie, The Rock, and this is where the last scene was shot, where Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage said their goodbyes.
You tell your kid. Saying, Mason, kid'll have nightmares. Spent all my money on shrinks.